My name is Ethan Walker, and for 6 years, I worked as a night ranger in one of America's largest national parks. Most visitors saw the park as a peaceful escape, filled with mountains, forests, and endless hiking trails. Families came to camp under the stars, photographers chased sunsets, and adventurers explored the wilderness. But those of us who worked there after dark knew the park had another side, a side most visitors never experienced. The incident happened in late October, when tourist season was ending and most campers had already left. Around 8:30 p.m., an emergency call came through our radio station. A woman reported that her husband had gone hiking alone earlier that afternoon and never returned.
At first, it sounded like a routine missing hiker case, but there was something strange about the woman's voice. She wasn't just worried, she sounded terrified. She kept repeating the same sentence. He said someone was following him. I asked her to explain, and she told me that about 30 minutes earlier, her husband had called her from the trail. He sounded nervous and out of breath. He said he could hear footsteps behind him. Every time he walked faster, the footsteps sped up. Every time he slowed down, the footsteps slowed down. Whenever he stopped completely, the footsteps stopped too. But every time he turned around, nobody was there. Then, the call suddenly ended.
After that, his phone went straight to voicemail. Within minutes, another ranger and I grabbed our gear and headed into the forest. The deeper we went, the stranger everything felt. The forest was completely silent. No birds, no insects, no wind moving through the trees. Just an unnatural stillness that made the darkness feel heavier with every step. About 2 miles down the trail, we found fresh footprints in the mud. They matched the missing hiker's boots. At first, it felt like progress. Then we noticed a second set of footprints following directly behind them. The distance between the two tracks never changed. It looked as if someone had been walking only inches behind him for miles. We followed the tracks deeper into the forest until we reached a small clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. That's where things stopped making sense. The hiker's footprints ended in the middle of the clearing. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no drag marks, no torn clothing, nothing. The second set of footprints ended there too. It looked as if both people had simply vanished into thin air. Before we could say anything, our radio suddenly crackled to life. A weak voice came through the speaker. "Help me." We froze. It sounded exactly like the missing hiker. The signal seemed close, maybe only a few hundred yards away.
We immediately moved toward the direction we thought it was coming from. Again, the voice came through. "Help me, please." But something felt wrong. No matter how far we walked, the volume never changed. It sounded exactly the same every time. Then my partner suddenly grabbed my arm and pointed into the darkness. Standing between the trees was a tall figure. At first, I thought it was another ranger. Then I realized it was far too tall. Its arms hung unnaturally low, and it wasn't moving at all.
It was simply standing there, watching us. I raised my flashlight toward it. The moment the beam touched the figure, it stepped behind a tree and disappeared. Not walked away, not ran, just disappeared. A few seconds later, the radio crackled again. This time, the voice wasn't asking for help. It was laughing. A low, distorted laugh that sounded nothing like the missing hiker. My partner and I immediately called for backup and retreated from the clearing. Search teams arrived and spent the entire night combing the area. But nobody found anything. The official search continued for 3 days. Helicopters searched from above.
Tracking dogs followed every possible trail. Dozens of rangers covered miles of wilderness. The missing hiker was never found. Weeks later,
Another ranger discovered his backpack nearly 7 miles away in an area that had already been searched several times. Inside was his phone. Investigators recovered the last recording stored on the device. The audio began with the sound of him walking through the forest. Leaves crunched beneath his boots. Then, another set of footsteps could be heard behind him. He stopped. The footsteps stopped.
He started walking again. The footsteps followed. His breathing became faster. Then he whispered, "Who are you?" For several seconds, there was complete silence. Then a voice answered from somewhere behind him. The voice sounded exactly like his own. Not similar, identical. The recording captured him gasping in shock. Then came the sound of running, branches snapping, heavy breathing, and finally a scream so loud it distorted the microphone. The recording ended there. No further audio was ever recovered. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Even more disturbing, hikers continue reporting strange experiences in that exact section of the park.
Many claim they hear footsteps following them after sunset. Others report hearing their names whispered from deep within the trees. A few even claim they heard someone calling for help using their own voice. Most people dismiss those stories as imagination. Maybe they're right, but I know what I heard that night, and I know what I saw standing between those trees. Whatever was following that man into the darkness wasn't human. And if it's still out there, waiting beyond the trails, then some things in the national parks were never meant to be found.